Hello, folks. How's it going? Welcome back to Chatting with D3.js and React. Though we have not started the React parts yet. But yeah, uh, welcome everyone. Welcome again. I think it's Sunday morning. Blues have very less people joining in, but that's fine. Hey, how's it going? Okay, I'm going to assume that I won't have a lot of audience right now because it's 11 a.m. on Sunday for me and it is 6 a.m. ET. And oh, I do have people joining in. Nice. That is good. Awesome to know. Okay, so if folks are here, let me once again announce that please do register for this session. And here you go. Here's the link. Okay, here's the link. Please do register for the session. And yeah, for a quick intro for anyone who is here, who is joining for the very first time, let me give you a quick intro, but let me also reduce the background music a bit. Yep, there we go. Cool. So, as for the quick intro, uh, this is a 6-part stream. We did 2 parts yesterday about D3.js, but we started with SVGs because D3 internally uses SVGs. So we had to first understand how SVGs work, and then how can we style them, how can we animate them. We did all of that, all of those bits, and then we moved on to introduction to D3. Even though we have not completed that yet, I am aiming to complete that, as well as build a few mini projects with D3 and JavaScript. Okay, pure JavaScript there. And that would be my session 3 and session 4 today, which is again one after the other. So you'll have like 15-minute break in between, but then we'll can complete building some mini projects with D3 in session 3 and session 4. And once that is done, session 5 and 6 is solely dedicated to building a project with React, okay, which will involve a server, but I'm going to pre-build the server. I'm not going to do it live on stream because that would take too much time. So session 5 and 6, which is happening on the last day or second last day, depending on which time zone you are in. I think second last day for everyone. Okay, anyways, so session 5 and 6 will be solely dedicated to React part of it so that I can fulfill the D3 with React, as the title says. But today it would be purely JavaScript and using D3 and JavaScript to make some beautiful visualizations, some charts, let's say. Okay, so that is a quick overview of the stream as to what we are going to do. A quick introduction about what we have done. Uh, we have what are we doing? I think I said that as well. So, okay, ignoring that part, what we have done, I've shared the link to the GitHub repository in the chat. If you have not, if you don't have the code about what we have been doing, if you're joining for the very first time, you can just take a look at the repository. And I don't think we have much commits here, like just 5 commits. Ignoring this commit and also the initial commit, we have like these 3 commits which have the content. Okay, so this is how do we draw SVG shapes, how do we animate those SVG shapes, and some basic D3 transformation, which does not have much, and this is what we are going to continue on. So that's a quick overview of the project as well. And I think I have been waiting for a good enough time, so I think it's a good part to start. Okay, any questions, anyone, before we go ahead? Actually, I'm going to take the silence as golden and assume no questions. And okay, perfect. Let's go ahead. So, uh, where we were yesterday. Yesterday, we did a bunch of stuff. Like, let me first go live on this one. Okay. So we wrote some scripts yesterday. Example like selecting the div with ID with ID selected area, select the div with ID selected area, and P with ID P1. Select all P tags. So these are all the ways of manipulating the DOM, that selecting elements in the DOM and also adding and removing elements from the DOM that D3 allows us. And today, as I had promised, we are going to move over to the data joins, which is the most important aspect of D3, in my very humble opinion. Okay, so let's start with D3 joins. And the way I'm going to do it is, first I'll write some code here, and then we are going to copy paste it in the console so that you can actually take a look at it quickly. So example, I may also need to add some stuff to the HTML part. So let me just do that very quickly. In the index.html, right here, I'm going to give a new title, D3 data joins. Okay, and in here, I'm going to create a div with ID data dash join dash area, and the class would be visualization dash area. That creates a div with ID data join area and class visualization area. And what else? Mm, okay, I think this should be good enough for the time being. Let's write some code, and as and when necessary, we will focus on you know adding more stuff, con adding more IDs here. Yep. Also, let me take a quick look on Discord for any questions. Nope, nothing. Cool. Let's move on. So D3 joins. This is like the most important aspect of the D3. So what is data join? It's not very hard and fast. Uh, all it is allows arrays to work with uh, no sorry allows D3 to work with arrays. And once you take D3, which inherently creates SVG, and then you want to actually, let me come back on stream for this. So you take D3, which is a library which allows you to manipulate DOM. You have data which could be an array of objects, a single object, a single data point. A single data point is actually called as datum, DATUM. So plural is data points or data, but a single data point would be called as datum. So you take a datum, you take data, and you want to create SVGs which uh, you know represent this data points. Example, let's say you have a circle which is a number of people who like to drink coffee. Then you have another circle which is number of people who like to drink tea. Okay, so you have two arrays. One is the name of the person and likes to drink tea or not. So let's actually quickly write it down. So name of the person, A, and likes tea. True. Okay. So this is one person, and similarly, you have three of them: A, B, and C. So this is one of my data points. My other data point would be A, B, and D likes coffee. So this is my array of objects. My first array is about liking tea or not, with the name of the person, and the second array of objects. Okay, this is one object is about is the name of the person and likes coffee or not. Okay, now you have to draw it in a Venn diagram. So what you would do is, if this is my first circle of people, this is my second circle of people, I will have some overlap, which is these two. Okay, they like both tea and coffee, so they are part of an overlap structure. And if you have to build a SVG which exactly denotes this pattern, how would you do it? So that is where D3 comes in, and it's like, you know what, I can help you do those joins. Okay, I can, if you provide me data and you use the correct APIs, you provide me with, this is the first array of objects, this is the second array of objects, and create SVGs, and then create an overlapping part of the SVG where the name matches. D3 can help you do that, and that's the idea. That is what exactly uh, the data joins in D3 help us do. So we'll take a look at that. And there's a very nice visualization that you can find. I will share this link in the chat. You can take a look at this one, which also explains something very similar. Uh, hmm. I don't use coffee or tea example, but I think you get the idea. So this is my, let's say, number of tea lovers, this is my number of coffee lovers, and this is the overlap. So you could use those joins and uh, use D3 to create SVG circles, and then you can kind of have a merge over them and stuff like that. Take a look at that as well. And hey, hello, long time no see. Okay, going back. Uh, Let me just remove all of this. Okay, so we will write some proper code. Step one, const data join area. Okay. Uh, I know my data join area is on this ID. So how do I select an ID? We saw this yesterday, where you can just do d3 dot select, and inside that select, you can do the ID name. Okay, so this is our very simple selection that we saw yesterday as well. Next, let me create some initial data. So let initial data equals an array of numbers, let's say 10, 20. Okay, we'll keep it simple for the time being. And okay, what can we do? Hmm, I'm thinking, how do I show it, which would be easier and nicer? Okay, let's also have an updated data. Let updated data equals 10, 30, 40. Cool. And let's go over here, and D3 data joins. There is a div there. So I can just take this and data join area. Whoops. I do have a data join area selection. Okay. There is a div which is selected here, which is currently under this variable. Let's also take my initial data and also take my updated data. So now I have three variables here. There is data join area, there is initial data, there is updated data. Okay. So now what I want to do is on the data join area variable, I want to do a select all for all the divs that are there, which is currently one, and then dot data is initial data. Okay. So it doesn't show anything there, but if you see the difference between this had a groups and parents, and this has groups, parents, enter and exit. Okay. Enter has two documents currently. There's one data with 10, there is another data with 20, which is our initial data. Exit has nothing currently. Groups has an array of two things. Okay. So what does this exactly do right now? So it is basically saying that join this specific. So dot data with that, that data set part, that initial data, it joins the specified array of data to the selected element. Okay. So nothing has happened much, but just keep an eye. And I should have assigned this to another variable. Let's say const divs equals this thing. So now that has a bound, or it has binded with this initial data, and it is stored in this divs. Okay. So now on divs dot enter dot append another div, we saw append as well yesterday, and dot text. Okay. And dot text, inside this dot text I'm saying d is initial data, and then just let's just print it out. I think that should be correct brackets. Okay, let's hit enter. So there we go. So now here it shows exactly what I was bounding to. What have we done? We first selected the div, then we had two variables, initial data and updated data. Then ignoring this part, because these both are the same things, I'm just assigning it to a variable, but I'm saying that select all the div in this uh, data join area and map them or bind them to this initial data, which is 10 and 20. And now right here, what all I'm doing is kind of printing it out, okay, on the printing it out, but on my DOM, okay, not on, let's say, mm, yeah, uh, it's not exactly like doing a console log. It is actually creating elements in my DOM currently. So there are these two elements. There's also this empty element, but you can ignore that for the time being. But these two were not in my HTML. Now they are. Okay. Next one is what happens when we do, like we enter a new data. So what I'm going to do is, you remember this const divs? we have a data join area dot select all div, but data in this case is going to change to updated data. Okay, so I've taken, like, defined it again. Now let's try to do divs dot enter dot append. So I'm not now appending another div here. Append a div dot text, which is, yes, D, but instead of initial data, let's say enter this new data. And if you remember, we can also do some styling on it. So let me just do a background dash color, and let me set it to some nice color, which we can get from our color conjure website. Let me see. It's a new data. I think this would be a nice color. Okay, so we had initial data 10, 20 added to the DOM. Now we are appending two new data points, like there's 10, 30, and 40. Do you think we'll have two repeated 10s, or what's going to happen? Okay, no guesses. Let's just try. And all it did was entered 40. Interesting. What happened to the other ones? Hmm. So it looped through it, but it only added one element, which is very, very, very interesting. Hmm. Okay. So what's going on here? So D here was the data point for the updated data, which we did, selected all of them. I should have used another variable. That would have been easier. Data join area. Let's do it again quickly. Initial data and then updated data. So this is the problem. You need to keep clearing the DOM. Otherwise, well, the DOM is not going to be updated and that just stays. I've selected it. I have my initial data. I have my updated data. And now I am going to add the initial data. And then I am going to very quickly add them. Perfect. Next one is I am going to use another variable right here. Let's say divs2, which is data join area, which is my actual div. Dot select all div dot data. Now we are binding to the updated data, which is fine. And now I do a divs2 dot enter dot append a new div dot text. Let's say this is D, and we are saying enter. Okay, that closes, and I think this should be fine. Okay. Hmm. This is interesting. It should have both of them. So what am I missing? If I just do divs 2, my updated data is an array of three things, right? It's making me doubt what am I doing wrong. It should, yeah, it's an array of three things. Nope, it shows an array of only one thing. It's interesting. It should have 10, 20, 30, 40. No, 30 and 40. 10, 30 and 40. 10 ignored. Hmm, I'm definitely doing something wrong. Let me quickly take a look. No, actually, it would be this. Am I doing? Give me 1 second to think about it. Meanwhile, if you have an idea, I think it should be just 30. That is correct, I guess. So, let me tell you what is my confusion. My confusion is that if my initial data is 10 and 20, which has a corresponding DOM element, then I try to enter 10, 30, and 40. 10 will be not entered, but 30 and 40 should be, ideally, in my mind, because 30 does not have a corresponding DOM element. Uh, Let me try to make much more sense of it. So what does enter do? Okay, so in D3's data, like that dot data and dot enter, let me come back on screen for this. So in D3, the dot data and dot enter, what happens is that when we call this dot data with updated data, okay, when we do this call, what D3 does is it tries to match each data value in the updated data, okay, which has 10, 30, and 40, to an existing DOM element. Okay, so which DOM and which area should it search for? It searches for inside this data join area. So it goes into this data join area and it goes through or loops over that 10, 30, and 40, and it goes like, oh, 10 already has a DOM element. uh, so I'm not going to enter it again or show it again. I am going to go for the next elements, which is uh, 30, and then there's 40. Okay. So now, in my mind, is that for the very first run, when we do the initial data bounding, 10 and 20 have corresponding DOM elements. And then when we try to bind this 10, 30, and 40, 10 has a corresponding DOM element. So ignoring that, it should go over to 30 and then to 40. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a call here. Sorry, someone at the door again. Uh, some parcels. Okay, let's try this the other way around. I'm going to go for the updated data first. So that's my initial data. That's my updated data. I should have cleared everything. Okay, let's start with my initial data first. Then let's do my updated data. And now let me create a div where we first join with the updated data. Okay. Oh, data join area is not defined. Oops. Data join area is the actual div with the ID data join area. And now my divs, I'm going to say they are bound with the updated data. Okay. So I should now see 10, 30, and 40 on the DOM. Okay. So divs dot enter, where divs is my updated area, and I am trying to enter uh, a new div element for each corresponding element in this array. So now I should see 10, 30, and 40, three things. Perfect. Now let me join it with initial data, okay, which has 10 and 20. So I should technically see 20 on the DOM, but not 10. So that is this one. And I'm going to keep this one red. And divs dot enter found with initial data, and it does not enter anything. So I am not sure. I'll have to check. Definitely there is something going wrong, but I hope you get the idea of it. I think if I definitely when I was preparing for this session, this does not happen. So unless there is a 10 or 20 somewhere lurking around, let me actually change this to hello world, my hello world. Hmm. Const divs equals okay. This is my divs one, and similarly, my divs two would be binding to the updated data. And once that is done, uh, what do I do? I just do a quick enter where divs is actually now my divs one dot this initial, and background color is this. And similarly, I have a divs2 dot enter dot append dot this is my enter, and background color is, let's say, yellow or orange. Okay, and I'm going to clear everything, not have any issues, perfectly fine. uh, Initial data, updated data, divs1 and divs2, and let's try divs1 dot join hello and world. Okay, and divs2 should be my hello world. Okay, so that works with the strings, but it is not working with my numbers. I don't know why. So in terms of strings, it thinks, okay, that is a new value, new variable altogether. Let me try 105 and 120, and let me change this to 95, 105, 78. Okay. Anyways, I hope what I'm trying to say makes sense, even though what I'm trying to do does not make sense in my own mind right now, specifically with respect to why it is not showing one of the values. Okay. In my opinion, it should. That is how the enter works. Maybe I am missing something, or definitely there is some weird thing going on, which I'm not able to figure out right now live on stream, but I will once like I get some time. Okay, so it does 105 and 120 initial data, which is correct, specifically for the reason that they don't exist in this current div. And now if I try to go for div 2, hmm, that works. Now if I go for 105, 110, 115, ah, just keeps refreshing. Let me try all of them together. Ah, oops, should do this after. I need the div to be created first. No wonder I was like, wait, what? Again, it's back to just one number, even though it should be 110 and 115 both, in my very humble opinion. Okay, so this needs to be in this order, especially to see what is happening. Reason because, uh, well, if you don't bound the div before, then how will D3 make the decision whether there is an existing element or not with a corresponding div? Okay, in this case. So let's go back to hello world. Okay, this is my last attempt for this, and goes for the last one again. For some reason. Okay, I'll figure that bit out later. But interesting. Unless I'm missing something or there is something weird going on. But this is the idea of the join, where it actually, the way it goes in. First, the data value. Okay. if there is a data value existing in the array, okay, in this case, initial data has 105 and 120, and we have made the corresponding divs. Okay, so just take it from there. There is a corresponding div, and there is, oh, it's still okay. So we have selected a div area where we'll do all the manipulation. That's our first step. Next step is we create this initial element. Okay, with all of this code specifically says that show some elements in that div that you had selected. Okay, which elements? The first two elements of the array, so 105 and 120 as per our initial data. Perfect. So we have selected all the div, we join the data, and we showcase it to the user. Perfect. Now comes the updated data. The way this will now work is it will first think, okay, I have, like, I join and create this updated data. Now D3 will internally do this calculation, and it will go like, the first data value is 105. Does it have an existing div? Yes, it does. Let me update the selection. Then it will go like, next value is 110. Does it have an existing div? No, it does not. Let me enter that value. Then it goes like, next value is 115. Does it have an existing div? No, it does not. Let me enter that value. And that's it. Okay. So if an existing value is seen by D3, it internally calculates. If it's the same value, then let me do an update operation. If it is a new value, let me do a enter operation, which is like create, kind of, let's say. But now there is another thing, that if we keep on clicking multiple times, if we keep on doing an update multiple times, at some point all of these elements will have a corresponding div. Okay, if there is a corresponding div, then it will always keep on doing an update and not an enter. Okay, so that's the idea of joins. Unfortunately, that one bit which I definitely wanted to show, which was 105, will not change, but 110 and 115 both should have been added. That is not happening, and I am not sure why. I'm definitely doing a proper loop here. So, unless I'm missing something, which I was pretty sure I shouldn't, uh, something weird is going on. Mm, okay, cool. Anyways, I will not worry too much about it for the time being. Hmm, okay, cool. Yeah, so not going to worry too much about it. I hope you got the concept. I will figure out what I'm doing wrong, and I will tell you about it in session 5. Next one is, now that we have added an element, you know how to remove an element. Uh, hmm. So to remove an element, I think you definitely know we did that yesterday as well. Hmm. So not going to focus on that part. What else? To reset, you can do that reset. And now let's go into transitions. So the data joining part, which was one of the most important things, which is theoretically, have explained it, the up, add and the update. You can also do a removal using D3 exit. So exit should be, selection.exit. So returns the exit selection existing DOM elements for which no new datum was found. So in our case, for example, if we have, uh, let me change this to 10, 20, 30, easy to speak. So this was 10 and 20, and this was, let's say, 10, 30, and 40. So an update was received for 10. Initial data had 10, updated data had 10, and update was received for 10. But for 20, if there was no update received, then uh, you can basically say that I want to exit any element for which a new update was not received. Okay. So you could do something like dot exit or dot remove on it. Uh, that's not sure the dot exit part of it. Interesting. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, but the idea is that for any element for which an update was not received, update is your terminology. Okay, so you give it the initial array, and then you give it the updated array, and then you can say that please remove all the elements for which an update was not received. Then it will remove 20, for example. It will be like update was never received for 20. Let me just remove it. So that is the idea of exit. Again, very powerful feature, because if let's say you have a chart and you never receive an update for one of the data points, if it's a ticking chart, let's say, then you can say like remove all of that and only show the updated data. So you have less erroneous data. Okay. So that is data joins. And finally, I want to showcase data transitions before we uh, yeah, before we end this. So let's go over to data transitions. I'm going to copy this bit. This is the fourth one, data transitions. So I'm going to say this is my transition area. Okay. So let's focus on data transitions. Hopefully that one works out better than the previous one. So data transitions, what is that? Transitions are nothing but animations. So we can do some animations. We did some animations yesterday as well, where we, if you remember, we took the SVG element and then we tried to do some manipulation on it. And the same thing we will do today in this one in using D3. When I say using D3, the ideally we are still doing it on SVG, but using some of the D3 APIs. Okay, so let's quickly write that one. Data transitions. So const transition area. That would be my D3 dot select this particular ID. I'm going to say hash this particular ID. So that is my transition area. Now let's quickly create a function of run transition, which we will paste in the console after a bit. Uh, but for the time being, uh, okay. So transition area, step one. If there is a previous transition, I want to clear it out. So I'm going to do transition.html and empty. So this will clear out all the HTML elements inside the selected div. Cool. So we have cleared it out. So when we do the transitions, when we will add a new svg here, we'll do some animation, let's say. And when we run this function again, step one, I want to clear out everything that's there. And yeah, that's it actually. And then start the next bits. Yep, I want to clear out everything that's there and then start the next bits. Okay, so now I'm going to say const, we're going to create a new SVG. I'm going to call it SVG is on the transition area dot append. We saw append yesterday to add a new element. Uh, but now I'm going to append SVG. And I don't know if I showed this yesterday, but you can also append some attributes. So the way we were doing like dot style, and we can append an element, we can also append some attributes to elements. Okay. So example, an SVG can have a width and a height. I'm going to say like let's say width is 100% for that SVG, and dot attribute height is going to be 150 pixels, let's say. So what is this going to do? This is going to actually create a SVG element, but with a width equals 100% and height equals 150. Okay, so this is what it will create, SVG, not the rectangle inside it, but just the SVG part. So the attributes are the ones that you can add here, type here. So that's our SVG created. Now we want to create a circle inside my SVG. So we want to do something like this. So circle, and it can have attributes CX, attribute CY, can have attribute radius, it can have an attribute of fill, right? So we are going to just do all of that, but with D3 syntax. So step one, SVG, where this SVG corresponds to my variable. Okay, so I'm going to call it my SVG. So my SVG dot select all. I'm going to say select all circle here. Dot data 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and then dot enter. So we have entered this data, dot append a circle, dot attributes. Attributes, as I said, CX, where that was the x-axis position that we saw yesterday. I'm saying it starts from 0. Dot attribute CY, where the y-axis position. But there is one thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to say that the position needs to be different for every element. So d comma I, where d is the data point, and I is the index of the data point. And let's just do some arbitrary changes here. Let's say the y starts from uh, mm, 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 okay, let's just say that everything starts from 25 plus I is the index. So I would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I into 50. Okay. So what I have done is I've created a circle. The x position would be on right on the edge, but the y position, they will be one below the other. Why? Because I'm saying that the initial data point would be at y position 25 plus 0 into 50, which is 0. So 25 plus 0, 25. So at the y axis would be 25 below. The next one would be 1 into 50 plus 25. That would be 75. So it would be 75 boxes below from the top edge, and so on and so forth. So the circles line up. And for all the circles, I want the radius of the circle to be 10. Okay. And dot style, I want to do a fill on all of them. And let's choose a quick color. Ah, nice. Okay. And now let's do the transition part. Transition. So dot transition actually starts the transition, and any attribute after this will be animated smoothly. Okay. Which means that if I do a dot transition and after this I say, oh, the duration is, let's say, 1.5 seconds, or you have to animate along the x-axis. So all of that will happen after this dot transition. So dot transition dot, let's say, duration, and the duration is 1500, which is 1.5 seconds. And then dot attribute, on what axis I want to run the transition. So in case of a circle, I want to transition on x-axis, where I want to, what is the transition? I want them to move ahead. So on the x-axis, I want to update the data to be, let's say, three times the initial. Dot transition, dot duration, dot attribute. Oh, I deleted this one by mistake. Okay, so I think that should do the trick. Here goes nothing. Let's go over to our interactive tutorial, and transition area has been selected. Let's add this function here. So the function has been selected, but I need to call the function. So I'm going to call the run transition, and there we go. Okay, so it created these 1 to 3 data points, which is interesting. Oh, because there's not enough space. Height, let's say 500. So for my last data point, it would be 100 into 50. I should change this to 20 or something. Then it would be easier. Transition area, my function, and oh, I changed it there. I did not copy it though. Like, what? Okay, cool. But you get the idea. But let me still. Yep, there we go. So now there's enough space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points to come over, and selecting all the, creating a circle. And for that select all circle is to say that when you create a circle, these are the data points of the circle, and starts from 0. And on the y-axis, the first one is at 25, or like x number of 25 boxes down. This one is 40 into 20, 80 plus 25 water boxes down. This and this, they are filled with the color, and then it takes 1.5 seconds. And on the x-axis, we are doing this. Now you can take it a bit further as well. Okay, you can say that on the y-axis also I want to do something. Okay, let's say you want to do the exact same transition on the y-axis. Okay, so not much difference here. Oh, because I just kept this 6. There we go. So on the y-axis, there was a change as well, and there was a change in x-axis as well. You can have different durations for them. Oh no, this won't work here. Uh, what else? I think this is good enough. And to clear anything out, you can also have a function called clear transitions. Function clear transitions, which is nothing but set the HTML back to empty. So we do this, we run the transition, we clear, we call the clear transitions, and that should clear everything. Okay. So transition is done. Thankfully, that worked properly. Hmm. Uh, that is true. Yes, that uh, I was just saying that yes, that is true that the update would work that ways. But my more main concern is the enter. The enter should have worked, which is that it should have entered 10, 20, 10, 30, 40, 30 and 40, but it's only entering 40, and I'm like, why? It should enter 30 and 40. The update happens for the existing elements. The enter, as far as I have understood, enter is where is it? Yeah, it enters nodes for each datum that has no corresponding DOM elements, which means that if there is no corresponding DOM element for 30 and 40, why does it only enter 40? Like that's why I'm confused. Unless again, I have misread it or I understood it wrong. Yeah, see, the enter selection is typically used to create missing uh, elements corresponding to new data. Is it? Let me see. 10, 0, 30, 40. Yes, I know, right? It does make it so confusing. Uh, yeah, actually. My assumption was wrong initially. What did I read wrong? Create the missing elements corresponding to new data. Create this. Okay, I understood it wrong. Good to know. Thank you so much. Right there. So it updates the missing, not the missing value, the missing number of values. So if I have an array of two numbers, an array of, so see, this is again, this gets confusing. Then how does it know? Uh, okay, actually, I can try this the other way around, right? I can just go like 30, 40, 0, and 10. So then ideally at this point, it should add 0 and 10. Yep, it does. So it's not for the data, and it is for the number of elements. Yep, I think that is correct. If I want to do that, I should technically do a dot join here. Enter, update, and exit. Update exists, right? Oh, I will need to read about this one to actually understand what would happen there. But thanks for this one. Okay. I made a mistake in my understanding as to what it actually does. Though I'm not still sure why does 30 go somewhere in the middle. Oh, because I did the join. Oh, I was doing an enter here. Okay. So I made a mistake in my initial reading, which was my assumption that D3 would actually do the calculation with respect to the element itself. It is not the element, it is the number of elements. So D3 is like if there are corresponding divs for two elements, then it will create the divs for the next two elements, let's say. Okay, it's depending on the length, but not on the value. And that was my mistake in understanding. And I apologize for that. Uh, Sorry about it, really. Think I will misled or misunderstood from this thing. But anyways, now that I have a better idea, I think I should be able to maybe fix one or two more issues in my code. Okay, cool. Uh, hmm, data dot join, and then join with what? Oh, this is for string, right? So where is the join? Okay, I will read about this one in a bit. But for the time being, let's move on to the next ones. Uh, I think that is enough for the D3 part where we did the data transition and data joins. I'm going to make a note incomplete, need to add joins. Okay, and let me make a note as two data points. It will add two more last, so 0 comma 10, because two divs already exist in the DOM. Okay, cool. I think this is what will make much more sense now with respect to the whole of the code. And let me just push this. And I have made a note very clearly here. Incomplete, need to add joins. And this one has two data points. So it will create two divs. And this one, it will create two more divs. It will add only two more divs, values 0 comma 10, because two divs already exist in the DOM from the initial data. Okay, cool. Let me push this one very quickly and then we will move on to some quick mini projects. This was session 3. Data joins and transitions. Okay, hit push and there we go. You can find the code right here. Okay, so there's the code for everything that we have done. I have added, I think, fair enough comments to explain what's happening and what's going on. Uh, there's a transition and there's this one. You'll have to call the transition function. Should have done that. I should have also called those functions. I can call the run transition, but I should not call the clear transitions. Otherwise, well, uncomment to clear transitions. Again, technically, since the function is already defined, we can call it here. Get add, get commit dash dash amend, and I'm going to amend my previous commit, get push force, and that should quickly update it. Yep. Yes, there we go. Okay, moving on to the next bits. I'm more concerned slash curious slash focused on ensuring that we are able to build or start at least one mini project. Okay, so the next folder that I'm going to create is D3-mini-projects. So my D3 mini projects, it will have multiple folders, of course. Uh, so the first one that I am going to do is actually let's create a parent index.html. So this is my parent index.html, which will be the entry point to all the projects. Okay. So on clicking on this project, it should take us to a new page where you can actually see the other projects. Uh, the first project that I'm going to create is going to be a line chart. Cool. So now my line chart will have index.html as well. And let's populate the parent one first. So this is my D3 mini projects. Okay. And in my D3 mini projects, I am going to have H1, which says line chart, and a href, and the link would actually be line chart slash index.html, and I will have a view project. And I want it to open on a new tab. So I'm going to say target blank. And let's wrap this in a quick div so that I can copy paste this div again and again and again. Okay, currently all of them say the same thing, but we will change this. Not zero, dash dash dash, and dash dash dash. It's not going to look good, but that's fine. Okay. Uh, Now let's go over to our line chart. So our line chart project, let's start by just adding some bits and pieces. So this is our line chart. Uh, I mean, it's D3 project, so I'm not going to add that. Line chart, let's have a very quick H1 uh, dynamic line chart. And okay, let's have a div, and inside this let's have a button with id add dash point. So this should add data point button. I'll have a remove data point. I'll have update random points. Yeah, this is good enough. Add data point, remove data point, update a random point, and of course these need to change. Remove point, update point. I think these three should be enough. Next one is let's go over and create a dot chart dash container, and inside this let's create a svg with id line dash chart. Okay, so this is where the chart would actually be visible. I am going to create a very quick, very simple CSS file, which will be in the parent. Let's call it index style.css. Okay, and I'm going to search for 58 bytes of CSS, which is my favorite. And I go for the 100 bytes one. And let me change this to 100 characters. Padding 1 M is good enough, and font size is fine. Again, padding 1 M is good enough for me. And hmm, okay, so this is my bare minimum CSS link CSS style.css, which is perfect. Okay, let's start this one. Go live. And there's my line chart project. View line chart. And these two are dashes for later. View line chart. And that's my dynamic line chart, which has been added here. Okay, and okay, let's move on. So now we can focus on the line charts. So line chart, well, we need to draw a line, but we'll use most of the D3 functions to do it. So yeah, that's quick intro to it. We are going to use some time scale series. So we'll have some random data. Okay, we'll create our own random data. We'll generate some random data. The line chart container that we have created here. Uh, in this one, we'll add, I would say, line. Okay. So we'll use some D3 shapes, we'll use some gradients, we'll use grouping, chart grouping. So yesterday we did in SVG the group item, the, the one with that G part. So we'll do that, and yeah, I think that should be it. So now this one would be huge, so bear with me. Let's not style. I want script.js. Let me remove this and this. Oh, by the way, this is the bare minimum CSS that you can have, which makes it pretty legible. Hmm, okay, so it makes the whole thing pretty legible, I would say. Uh, yeah, so that's why I kind of like it. Hmm. Also, this line chart, I don't know if that makes sense. So let me just remove that H1. And I can just have a quick H1, which would be D3 mini projects. Okay, cool. So it's a bit of CSS there. D3 mini projects and view line chart that should open in a new tab, and let's take it from here. So this is done, and we will keep referring to this bit in a bit. But for the timing, let's focus on writing some code. So step one, let's do some chart configuration. Okay. So chart configuration, I am going to create a constant. Uh, let's let's call it margin. Okay. So what is that going to do? So the margin is for literally providing chart margins. Okay. So const margin equals uh, const margin equals, we can define that on the top there will be margin of 20, right 30, bottom 50, left 50, top right, uh this would be comma. Yeah. So on the top, I am saying that there's the space for the axis and the labels. Okay. So the margins for the chart, this is to provide the space from where the axis would be, where the labels would be, uh, from the actual chart. So once the chart is printed, I want the axis and the labels to have some space, of course, right? So this is for that purpose. Uh, Okay, so margin at top will be margin at the top of the chart, right would be margin to at the right of the chart, bottom would be margin at the bottom of the chart to accommodate any access labels, and on the left, I have more spaces on the bottom and left because is where it will actually have the label on the x-axis, and the left is the y-axis where it will have the y labels, and top and right is it's okay. It's okay to have like 20 and 20, let's say. Now const width is equal to, let me also zoom in a bit. Yes, width is equal to, let's say my whole chart is of 800 pixels. So from that, remove the margin left and also remove the margin dot right. Okay. So imagine a box. So this is the box. This is my bottom. This is my left. My actual coding area is only this much. I want to remove the left part and also remove the right part for the width where I can actually code. Similarly, I can do for height. Okay. So height, I'm going to say the height of my coding area is 500. From that, remove the top part and also remove the bottom part. Okay, so that is now the remaining width is where I can code, or in our case that is where I can actually draw, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Next, let's generate some random data. So I'm going to say let data equals an empty array. So this is where we inside this we'll store some uh, time series data. Const start date is new date, and I'm going to give it 2025 dash 01 dash 01. So 01 dash 01. So 1st January 2025, that is the start date that I have. And now let's write a quick function to generate initial data. Step one, I'm going to say that whatever was the data array, make it empty. So anytime this function is called, you have to start fresh. So empty the data array. So this is going to generate some random data, uh, a time series data. What is a time series data? It means there is some number, some date involved. Okay, some date or some time involved in it. That's why it's called time series. Okay. So data equals an empty array, and now I can do a quick for let I equals to 0, I less than, let's say, 10 points, and I plus plus, loop over this, and we can create a date which is the new date from the start date, which is actually a new date as well, but that's fine. Now date dot set date is start date dot get date plus I into 7. Okay. So what is this going to do? This is basically going to just have a weekly interval. Okay. That's how I would say. This is going to have a weekly interval. Hmm. And now let's do a generate random data. So I can just say uh, values. Actually, I can just do data dot push. Since it's an array, inside it I will create objects. So date would actually be equal to the date that I get from here, and the value would actually be, let's say, let's do some random. So math dot random will generate a base value. Uh, let's generate it between 8, 20 and 100. So into 80 plus 20, plus we can actually take it a bit ahead and say that I want to generate a sine wave like functionality, where like the sine wave will give us a smoother pattern. It won't be random data like one data point here, one data point here, and one data point here. No, it will give it a smoother functionality of one data point here, then it slowly moves to one data point here, one data point here, one data point here. Kind of a smoothing function, you can say. Okay, the way, if you remember how sine waves look like, uh, into 10. Okay, so I think this should give us the initial data. Now I can just quickly const values equals this and data dot push values, because I also want to log values. So let's quickly go over here, and just to show the function. Oh, start date is not defined. Oops, sorry. Need to take all of this. Okay, so this is what we'll end up with. Okay, so it generates 10 data points: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so 10 data points. If you see, it starts from 1st of January, and then there is a weekly interval. The next one is 8th of January. Next date is 15th of January. Next date is 22nd of January. So 1 week difference between all the dates. And then we have the data itself, the value. It goes from 64. If you imagine X and Y axis, 64 is up top, and then 52 is somewhere down here, then it is 42, so it goes a bit more down, and then we have uh, 98, which goes up, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the function that we have created. to generate these values. You don't need to console log them, but just to show what the data would look like. And what does this mean? So this is to generate a weekly interval in our data set. Next, so this is my create initial data or generate initial data. Next one, I'm going to do create SVG and chart group. Okay, so const SVG equals D3 dot select. And where do we plot this line chart in this particular element or inside this SVG with ID line chart? So I do D3 dot select wherever you find this ID. IDs are supposed to be unique on this page, so you have to ensure that bit. Then I want, oh, not hash. I want to set the width. Now the width of my SVG, okay, width of my SVG will include everything. Okay, so my SVG would be of the width 800 and height 500. Okay, so let's do that. And then I can just copy this. Okay, so the actual SVG area that my line chart will have is the whole thing, including these borders. So this y-axis margins that I have deleted out, and on the top and bottom margins that I've deleted out. Why? Because, well, they are still part of SVG. The labels will still be part of SVG. It's just from where is my usable area to plot the chart versus the whole chart itself. Okay. So that's very simply us setting our margins, I would say. And what else? Hmm, I want to do gradients as well. I'm not sure if I should right now. So okay. So this is my SVG. Let's just stop right here and const chart group. That is going to be SVG dot append will create a single group element, which we saw yesterday, to group elements together. And attributes, we want to use the transform, which we saw yesterday as well. And what can we do? We can say that we want to translate based on margin dot left, comma, margin dot top. Okay, so what are we doing here? So we are saying that the group itself, so we create a chart group. This is the group element to hold all the elements of the chart itself. So it will have some dots, it will have the line, it will have whatever. So this is to hold those elements. And I'm also accounting for the margins to say that, please account for whatever is the left margin and the top margin for my group, because my chart, I don't want it to go above the y-axis. I don't want it to go cross over to my x-axis. So keep an eye on that as well. Uh, okay. Next, let's do some scales. So create scales. So my x-axis and my y-axis, that is my scale, basically. So const x scale, that is equal to d3 dot scale time dot range, and that would equal to 0 comma width. Hmm, okay, so what am I doing here? So x scale, it maps dates to the horizontal position. Okay, it will map the date that we have generated, that we have seen on the horizontal line, and we are specifying the range from the 0th position. So like if this is again xy, 0th to the width. Okay, in that one you have to range all the dates that are there in the data. So that's my x scale, and we are using the scale time. It is specifically for uh, time. There we go. So new time scale with a domain and range, and we have the data itself. So this is our actual data, which we don't have to specify here right now, and that's it. I think that should be good enough. Next up is y scale, or the y values. So I'm going to call it y scale. No surprises there. D3 dot scale linear. So I'm going to use this one, constructs a new linear scale. So it's basically about values going from one value to other. Okay. So in our case, we are going to say, uh, so our values, the ones that we have generated, they are between 20 and 100. Okay, because math.random could be 0. So 0 into 80 would give it 0 plus 20 plus something. So it should be between 20 and 100, because math.random could be 1. So 1 into 80 would be 80 plus 20. So 100 plus maybe something. So the values here would be values will be between 20 and 100. Okay. So a linear scale will take the lowermost values and the highermost values, and yeah, just show them uh, linearly. Okay, like, yeah, with proper intervals in between. So dot scale linear and dot range, and uh, now the range. Now this one is interesting. If you remember from all our SVG diagrams that we had created, we saw that the y-axis goes down. So if you remember from our previous session, this point, if you can see my mouse, so if this is my x-axis and this is, sorry, y-axis, and this is the top, so my x-axis went in this direction as positive, but my y-axis went down as positive. Okay, so y scale is for vertical position, and we're using linear scale for continuous numerical data, let's say, and it will range from the height to 0. Okay, so we have created the scales, but we still need to create the line itself. So let's do that. So const line equals d3 dot line. Yes. So we'll do this. So d3 dot line dot x, well, like what to map on the x, and then what to map on the y would be d3 dot line dot y. So which values to map on the y? D3 dot line dot x, and I'm going to say that each data point or datum in this case would be actually x scale of d dot data, and dot y would be dy scale of d dot, not d dot data, this would be d dot date. So take the date values, and this would be d dot value, which would be on the y-axis. So the values will be the numbers and the dates would be on the x-axis. So we are mapping the date to x position using x scale. We are mapping the values that are generated by our generate random function on the y position using y scale. And finally, how do we want our line to look like? So I think there is a curve. Yes, there is a curve which has multiple curves specified. So see the curve factory. So if you want a line which is more smooth, or you want a proper step lines as well, I think there's a step as well available somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Curve step. So you have literally steps, and then you have a step after, then you have a step before. So before the data point, there would be a step, or after the data points, there would be a step. So for the same data, if you see or notice the difference, it starts from here, okay, and this is the next data point. So the data point is the same, but the step makes a huge difference as to how you look at the data, right? So it starts at this position, and then it goes flat and then up, and here it goes up and then right. The data is at the same position, it just the way the steps are. Well, you have step before, step after. I am going to use uh, monotone x, curve monotone x. So this I think would produce a really, nice smooth curve. Yeah, this will make for a smooth curve depending on the data. So again, the same data, and there we go, a nice smooth curve that comes down. If there are two data points on the straight line, shows that, and then again goes up and down. Okay, so I'm going to do dot curve monotone x, right? That's what I'll have to do. Dot curve d3 dot curve monotone x. Yes, that I think should do the trick. Perfect. So I have created our line as well. And now let's create the axis. Hmm. So const x axis equals d3 dot axis bottom. Okay. So x axis. So what are we doing? We are doing the x axis generator for the dates, and we are going to use a very custom format to display the dates. Okay, we are going to do date and the month name. So dot axis bottom x scale dot tick format is going to be d3 dot time format, and a custom format, like I want to show a date and then slash show the month. Okay, that's all I want to show. So we are doing create axis. So this is what my x-axis will show. Now for the y-axis itself, I'm just going to say d3 dot. I think there's an axis left as well. So this is the position. Axis left would show y scale. No particular formats there. And now, okay, actually I forgot one thing. I forgot to link up this script. So script src equals script.js. Now it is linked up with this script. And it says D3 is not defined. We have been using it for so long and I forgot to define it. So let me just quickly define it by copying this CDN link and putting it up top. Okay, perfect. Nice. So now I have everything. There are no errors here. Let's go back. So we have created the axis and I just saw the time. I don't think I'll be able to finish right now. So let me uh, just do a two group. Uh, okay, so we first need to create a x-axis group and then a y-axis group. If you remember that chart group that we had created, we are going to use that. What are we doing is we are creating SVGs. Okay, so we are creating SVGs. I want one group of SVG for all the x-axis data points, and I want one group of SVGs for all the y-axis data points. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to say const x-axis group is equal to chart group dot append. So we are creating group element, and we are going to style it. So I'm going to add a class of axis space x dash axis. So this is your normal HTML class element that you add. Like example, this class I'm adding to the SVG group element. Okay, so what this would translate into is class equals axis space x dash axis. Then we'll create another group which will be axis space y axis, and this already has a group as well. Okay, so we are creating an SVG element with multiple groups inside them, and yeah, that's it. Not attribute transform, and I'm going to say that position it to the bottom. Translate 0 comma dollar height. You're positioning it to the bottom of the chart. X-axis group here, and similarly I'm going to create y-axis group. So y-axis group chart group dot append g dot attribute this. I want this to be this one, and that's it. That's where you stop. Okay, next one is the x-axis labels. Do I have time? Okay, let me just quickly try. Actually, don't even need const, right? I don't want to assign it to a variable. I have a chart group, and I can just say dot append the text dot attribute class axis dash label. So this is for all of this. All the class that I'm adding would be helpful for my CSS. Okay. Dot attribute x comma width by 2 and dot attribute y height plus 50 dot style them text align center and dot text to be date. Okay, so that's what will be the label. So this is for label on x axis, and now we need to label on y axis. I am going to copy this first. So chart group dot append text, uh, same class, so we can have the same style. And I am going to add another attribute here, which would be transform, rotate by -90. So on the y-axis, the text would be rotated by -90, and on the x-axis, the height minus of height by 2. So this would be at half the height. So this will center the label vertically. This was also to for the whole width. The label should be at the center of this whole width, and it should be like 50 pixels below the top, like below the line, okay, below the axis. So that is what had happened here. Here we are saying that it should be at the center of the whole vertical height, and it should be 40 pixels away from the line. Okay. Text align, it will be center, and the label will be called as value. Values, I think values would be better. Okay, so there we go. So the date is here. Where is my values? What did I miss now? I don't think so. That's my chart. That's the G part. There's the X axis, there's the Y axis, and there's the X axis label and the Y axis label, which apparently exists but does not exist. Okay, we'll fix that with CSS later. Okay, anyways, I think I am over time right now. Let me come back on screen. So this is where we stop for the time being. Let me push all of this. So this was session 4. Uh, session 4, D3 mini projects line chart dash line chart. That's what we started with. No, this was session, yeah, session 4. Oh, session 3. This is session 3. And git push. Okay. So we have started this mini projects. We have started with the line chart. and we have not completed it, but we'll complete it once we come back from a quick 15-minute break. So the next session is also mine, which is part 4, and we'll start it after 15 minutes. So just, you know, shut down all your machines, just have a quick walk, eat something, and then be back in 15 minutes. And before we go, please do fill the feedback form. If you are not, if you don't have the link, let me share the link in the chat. So that is the feedback form for session, and fill it for session 3. Session 4 is still pending, of course. So session 3, this is part 3 of starting with D3.js in React, part 3. And give a rating, give any constructive criticism that you have, and I'll try and work on it. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. I'll make an announcement on Twitch right now, but join after 15 minutes, please. Okay. I will start the stream in 5 minutes. I'll a new stream in 5 minutes, but it won't exactly start, if you know what I mean. For yeah, 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, everyone. Do fill the feedback form. It should take a couple of minutes, and I will see you for the next session where we complete the line chart. And I think with the pace that we are going, this would be too slow. So I think at some point I am going to, uh, just start quickly writing it. Yeah. Cool. Cheers. Thank you so much.